Come on. Oh, come on. No, no, already? Come on. No, no. Aw. Here we go again. Jesus. Let's hope and pray. Hi, everybody.
Ask no questions, bask in the pestilence. See, honey, when the plague goes live, you'd be wise to invest in it. See, honey, when the plague goes live, just between you and I, that's an industry sign that they're all done testing it. And come 2025, they will all be confessing it. And then a few small fry fall guys all fly from the precipice, who are doomed to be wasted like shell corporations, dissolving to vapor, then gone with the resonance, gone with the sense and the sentiments, gone with the dust of the remnants, gone with the ghosts of the regiment, gone like those families in Gaza whose bodies and homes are demolished when Israel sets up a settlement. Gone like your chance at a settlement, gone like the hope of apologies out of those funding our deadliest research and backroom development. Gone like your shot at a measly I'm sorry from the mouths of our own bioterrorists. God, you cannot imagine the face of the monster. You can't even fathom the scale of its carapace. It's under your feet, yet you're barely aware of it. You see, it's quietly judging the scope of your suffering, sizing you up like a therapist. Then it rides in your guts like a parasite, growing in size and excreting a culture that's purely embarrassment. Equal parts Manson and Marilyn, equal parts something we push into madness and something we'll gladly exploit and objectify 50 years after it perishes. Carefully crafted and planned and arranged like a monarchy's marriages. Fucking cousins or otherwise, scourge of the colonized, staged and displayed for the sake of retaining those imperial barracks. And all to expedite a special type of anglicized dysplasia. The kind where half the world is waking up to learn they're being raided, raped, and robbed of all their heritage by Charles and his caravan of 30 servants' carriages. The kind where each in the procession is worth infinitely less, till eventually they're paid in sums of crown-approved disparagement and bonuses of shame, till they're finally told to thank the highest-ranking inbred pig named king of every garrison. One who rose into his power all immaculate, like Harris did. Well, now that garishness is melting down like paraffin that hardens in a shell and shelters terrified and threatened royal terrapin. Those that rule with zero question, although nobody elected it. Democracy was here till we dissected it. Democracy was here until the exhibition exodus. And the loss of that democracy is just a threat for those who've yet to recognize the scent of bait or know the taste of desiccants. Democracy was here and now the smear is all that's left of it.
Democracy was here and now the smear is all that's left of it.
Mother and baby on razor's edge, don't give a shit what your paper said. Economy creeping up out of red, cause they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. Miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking he's in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. Mother and baby on razor's edge, don't give a shit what your paper said. Economy creeping up out of red, as they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. Miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking he's safe and fed. Ain't got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. Mother and baby on razor's edge, they don't give a shit what your paper said. Economy creeping up out of red, as they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. Miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking he's safe and fed. Ain't got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. a shit what your paper said. The economy creeping about a red as they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. And miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking, he's safe in bed. And ain't got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. Mother and baby on razor's edge, they don't give a shit what your paper said. The economy creeping about a red as they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. And miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking, he's safe in bed. And ain't got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. SWAT team took your neighbor today. Watched them as they walked him away. You told yourself extremists come in all different shapes. Met his eyes and lowered your gaze. Is it too late for us to ever change? When we are collecting the dust of better days, they're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to be safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Sheriff stopped your daughter today. Pepper sprayed her twice in the face. He must have had good reason if he'd treat her that way. At least that's what they've taught you to say. But is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust of better days, and they're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to feel safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Feds arrived and had you detained. Said you'd made some posts they want changed. Tased you till you felt like you'd forgotten your name, or life before they had you contained. Oh, life before they had you contained. SWAT team took your neighbor today.
Radio station just censored the word devil. Clearly, we are on a different level. I guess you wouldn't notice all the rolling boulders crashing past your shoulders when you're taught to shift your focus lower, scream at all the pebbles. Cheering on the bombers because you can't abide the rebels. But I bet you'll wring your bloody hands when all the dust has settled, when the last little limb is pulled from Gaza's twisted metal. Then you can say how you were led astray, and never once in all your days would you have knowingly supported all the genocide for which you clapped and prayed. But they baited you with unconfirmed blurbs about babies until you were filled with rage. Yet someone told you babies had been starving, bombed, and caged for nearly 80 years in Gaza, and you looked the other way. So regret, but make it fashion. Go and pluck that final petal off a hyacinth on Instagram for every kid they kettled. Every son that Israel imprisoned when they're little, that they tortured for a decade, then surprised with their acquittal. And when they got released and saw their parents, and whenever siblings hadn't met the missiles, they stared right through their middle. Their eyes don't seem to focus, and their words are all but dribble, like they're pondering the darkest riddle. That is, how many false flags does it take to make humanity inhuman and uncivil, distorted by the revel? The crooked slant where Israel contorts into America, Biden bathing Bibi in a bloodbath in the bevel. I opened up my feed, and I saw children disassembled. Turned some music on, and heard the station censor devil. Imagine thinking Doja Cat's a threat to moral fabric in the single largest terror cell that ever felled a temple, that ever sparked a cleansing, that ever burned a market, that ever raped with bayonets or carpet-bombed apartments, that ever turned your water off and left you in the darkness, left you doing surgery on children while they're conscious. You sing the devil's praises every time you sing our anthem. You sing a hymn to him that watched us birth a million phantoms. You'll proudly wave his flag, and yet you will not name the devil? Well, clearly, we are on a different level. I can give you names, shit, I'll give you several. They say the devil wears a different face for every general, like a composite of the char he brought to fields of emerald, and the wail of every childhood we made ephemeral. So who else has left the stain of blood on everything they touch? Who else can starve civilians and they don't so much as blush? Who else has paid for Gaza being flattened into dust? If there's ever been a devil on this earth, then it is us. That's U.S. What an ugly couple letters. Feeding shit and ignorance to those it chose to tether. From the river to the sea, both are slowly growing redder. For the devil that you know just knows you better. It knows every gut reaction it could ever make you feel. It knows fear is that which wakes you up and gets you on your wheel. It knows just the kind of story that will justify its war. And the scripts are wrapped for World War IV. So just imagine my surprise to give the radio a listen and to hear such pious morals out of Zionists and Christians that they'd take the devil's name and try to clip it from existence while they carry out his bloody business. You would wave a fascist flag, and yet you honor not your Iblis? Name you not Apollyon? Hush you now your witness? Bleed the name of Belial till tongue is rolling listless in the man-made mouth of Mammon, as Lamia's whispers listen. When carts are wheeling bodies through the cities that we crushed, and the very air is rotten with decay of all that was, who else would censor devil yet behave as Legion does? If there's ever been a devil on this earth, then it is us. U.S., but not a unity of souls. More a mass of corporations turning houses into holes, turning people into puppets, turning puppets into mold, turning mold into nutrition bars worth their weight in gold because they're bombing every bakery and burning every field with phosphorus that never once has wanted for a meal. The devil wears a mask and it delights in the reveal, in that moment where the face is let to peel. We do not love the underdog. We do not cheer the rebels. We lust for all their blood until the dust has finally settled. Then pity just ourselves that we were so misled to revel. Proudly wave his flag, and yet we will not name the devil.
Oh, Indie Left, what is happening here?
To check out IndependentLeft.news.
The Indie News Network.
Indie Left News.
Oh, hey, Indie Left.
IndependentLeft.news. Great work.
Indie Left News.
IndependentLeft.news.
Independent Left News.
Shout out to Independent Left News. Shout out. Oh, what's up, Independent Left? Indie Friend show.
Thank you, IndependentLeft.news.
The INN, Indie, you're wonderful.
I think Indie was onto something.
Independent News Network, Indie News.
Yeah. What's up, Indie, over on Rockfin?
Independent News Network, also known as INN.
Indie Left News.
I don't know if I would have made it through that 3 weeks without Indie, honestly.
No, I was just going to ask Indie.
A huge thank you and shout out to Indie Left.
No, you know what we're doing? We're world building.
Indie.
Indie Left News.
You were doing the INN recruiting.
Indie News.
Independent Left News.
Shout out to Independent Left News.
Check out Independent Left News.
At Kennedy News.
I see Indie's in the chat. Hi, Indie. Okay.
Who are these people?
Who are these people? Hi! What's up, everybody? It's Indy.
Hello.
It's Reef over there. We're gonna try this. We're gonna give this a shot. Optimum is saying it's pretty decent, but OBS is saying it's not. I don't know what we're gonna deal with here, but we're gonna do a news show. We're gonna try to, and we're gonna record it. So even if there is nobody, if we get dropped, we'll still record the stories and we'll put them out as our clips. We're gonna do How Do We Miss That? And then we're gonna do boats tonight, as always. This is episode 110. I can't believe this already. Wow, 110. So what's new with you? Wow. Yeah, so we have got some articles today. I don't know how long the show this is going to be to begin with, because I got a couple Kit Klarenberg ones, but we're going to save them toward the back, as well as the thing that happened yesterday in front of the courthouse in New York City. But I want to get started real quick. Here we go. Oh, that's my speed test. You don't want to see that. Rumble. Rumbers. Okay. So Rumble is once again under assault, but this time it's globally. We've seen them under attack from Congress. We've seen them under attack before from France and the UK that have demanded some type of censorship, though they won't say exactly what. The other day, we see Chris Pavlovsky, he's the CEO of Rumble, who's announcing that Rumble has received censorship demands from Australia, New Zealand, and other countries that infringe on everyone's human rights. Not good. Okay, we are noticing a dramatic increase in global censorship, unlike anything we've seen before. And we've seen this guy before, Michael Schellenberger, and he's got a eek look. Chris then says that it's the worst I've seen it. First France, then Brazil. We think we talked about how Brazil made a demand. We watched Michael Schellenberger's video about that. Okay. With Twitter Files Brazil, that they aptly named, or however. And then we've got State Department needs to intervene ASAP. Come on, Chris. Come on, man. And now all you see is the people go, the state, and this is me, the State Department is leading it, Chris. Come on. Then you see Steve B on the warpath, whoever that is. Off the reservation, American Indian. All right. Again, U.S. government's driving it. Biden administration's behind it all. There's a lot of sentiment like that in the replies. Somebody else who had something to say here. Somebody you all may know, a guy named Jimmy Dore. He says, when I was a kid, quote, when I was a kid, I was told only dictators and authoritarian governments censored citizens' speech. Now half the Western world is on board and half the people in America are enthusiastic about censorship. And that's what we've got going on here. And then we've got people in the replies, some people who we know, friends of ours, some people who we have been kind of going back and forth with about a bunch of things. But Putin, that's exactly what I wanted to show right there. But Putin, of course.
Effing F.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, it's, so it's the Five Eyes. They're coming for all the platforms that can potentially. No, not Five Guys. 5 Eyes. All right. So the 5 Eyes burger, not 5 Eyes burgers and fries. See, now you got me thinking burgers. All right. But no, 5 Eyes are the NATO, the US, Australia, UK, New Zealand. Who's the Israel, of course, Israel. No, not the Boston Celtics. No, we don't have them. They're not included. They're not in the Big Five either. So he puts up a Jimmy Dore, a George Orwell quote about free speech is unthinkable. All other kinds of freedom are permitted. You are free to be a drunkard, an idler, a coward, a backbiter, a fornicator, but you're not free to think for yourself. This is in the context of censorship happening and clamping down worldwide. We're also starting to see it and an infiltration of bots over on Substack and in notes and in comments and in the chats. There seems to be an increase, especially in the Matt Taibbi style chat rooms, to the point where today I noticed that he turned it on that the only people that can start a new thread in his Substack chat are founding members, and you got to spend a couple of $100 a year to be a founding member, I believe. So they're coming for Rumble. Why? They don't like what's being said on Rumble. They don't like the fact that the global, corporate enterprise is being called out. But at the same time, it's mostly Fox News and right-wing personalities that are on Rumble. They're trying to get more gamers. They're trying to get, but the large political influence, and now they're even making it possible to donate politically. They are making some really good moves. They announced that they're having their creators round 3. And if you're not following Chris Pavlovsky, he has been fighting for free speech. He has been taking a stand. Okay. So people are asking that he publish the letters that are being sent to him. Now he's saying, again, the U.S. State Department needs to immediately intervene and protect U.S. companies and interests. They're not going to. They're behind this. All right?
Yeah.
And then he's saying if China blocks and prohibits Rumble because they see free speech as a weapon, why should we allow TikTok to operate freely in our market? Well, because number one, TikTok is mostly run by 60% owned by large conglomerate global corporations and run through Oracle servers in the United States. So to be clear, he's formulating his opinion. Chris, this is happening on Rumble now. So if you happen to tune in and listen, and I hope you do, yes, the CEO of Rumble can't be this naive, is what Angel Rivera, host of Angel in the Afternoon. Congrats on episode 50, my brother, and episode 10 of the Pro Wrestling Talk with Miss Witchy Perfect, which happened on Saturday night. I kind of agree there. I get that he sees the State Department or whoever as trying to protect American interests, but they don't work for us, and we know that. All right. He was sad to see the closure of LiveSpace. All right, so let me go back into the comments here, and this is where I know somebody was demanding. Now, first of all, very nice that Odyssey stepped up and said that they're building decentralized tech, and that's very nice. Somebody said that there's Google ownership involved with Odyssey. If so, that's a big yikes. All right. It's not YouTube if this is lagging, it's actually. So I said we're going to talk about this tonight and drop the link in. So hopefully our friend Chris would see it at some point. Thank you, Chris. If you look, man, he's standing up for free speech, but somebody was demanding and saying, well, why don't you publish out and call out the governments and publish the letters of what you're being here? Why are governments getting so much more aggressive?
Gag orders or whatever.
Right. And the answer was that usually these come with gag orders if you want to, for the lawsuits and everything else. So Why are they getting more aggressive? Why? Because their narrative is being challenged. They got exposed big time on COVID. Safe and effective, safe and effective. They got exposed big time on Ukraine. Oh, Ukraine's really winning. Ukraine's doing great. Everything's great. Nothing to see here. All right. They've been exposed once again when it comes to Israel-Palestine. And they've been trying to censor an entire narrative completely out. And it's not a narrative, it's the truth. So that their lie of a narrative is what ends up getting published as the truth, because it's all about legend. And, okay, free speech is scary to liberals because it destroys their faulty beliefs. Again, you see a lot of conservative responses in here, right? Is Rumble considering publishing a regular report on such government requests, even without going into specifics? Maybe the number they're getting and number of videos and channels targeted. I think that's a great suggestion there from the cryptic hybrid, honestly. All right. But once more, you've got the entire world really coming after Rumble. From, once again, France and Brazil, to now you've got more countries, Australia and New Zealand, and other countries. Now, I don't know if they don't necessarily have the same kind of free speech, freedom of the press laws that we do here. So they have more control over what's said by Rumble, and Rumble kind of has to play ball with them if they want to operate there. And so what did they do when it came to France? They pulled out. They said, we're not going to do it. We're not going to succumb to your censorship demands. And we still don't know what they were demanded. But phrasing. Succumb. Yes, to give in.
You said they pulled out.
Well, that too.
Don't worry about it.
Well, they did. They exited France.
Nope.
Sorry,
children.
So, but again, it's not just YouTube. It's not just Rumble. They're coming after. They're still censoring people on YouTube. They're still censoring people on Substack. And then we're going to talk about what's happening over on Facebook in a minute. Just kind of want to say hi to some people while we have a minute. What's up, Heidi Benners, Avi Benjamin? I see a bunch of fam in the house. Good to see everyone here. Driving Me Macy's been here since we went live. Thank you for putting up with the lag. And we're still dealing with lag. I don't know what to do. I'm so frustrated because we had the line replaced on Friday, and I got really excited because cable came and replaced my wire. So I got fresh copper, and it's still doing it. So I don't know what the answer is, and it's bouncing all over the place. So the next article I had is a real short one, and it's from a Substack called Clandestine's newsletter. All right. They don't always publish
to a Substack newsletter near you.
Thank you, Rachel. But I don't always agree with what they write. They are followed, you can see, by friends like Vanessa Beeley and Ohio Barbarian and others. And I agreed with this one. So that this war is meant to be continuous. And this reflects a lot on our friend named Julian Assange. And they say they've quietly observed, and this is their take, Congress wasted no time in capitalizing on the situation. They immediately tried to weaponize the public's emotion or fear to advance their agenda of reinvigorating public support for the war machine. Our tax dollars should not be spent on any of these conflicts for any reason. I hear MMTers' heads exploding right now about our tax dollars. Our committed U.S. dollars. Our committed U.S. dollars for the MMT crowd. Forget whether they're tax dollars or not. Okay, sidebar. Our tax dollars should only be spent on the interests of the American people. I agree with. We have a border that needs securing. Sure. We have corruption that needs eradicating. Absolutely. Our society is failing. 100%. We have plenty of our own problems. Can't agree more. Yet trillions of our tax dollars have been sent to fund these wars around the globe that have absolutely nothing to do with us and do not benefit us in any way. Bankers' wars, as one would say. This seems incredibly timely considering that literally last night they gave away $100 billion to the war machine again. We are being stolen from on the largest scale imaginable. Our labor is used to fund nearly all conflict and war around the globe, while our once great nation continues to deteriorate and our quality of life continues to plummet. We are slaves. Our politicians...
Another fucking war.
I know who that is. Do you know who that is?
Yes, you
do. Do you know who that is?
What's that sound?
What's that sound? We're going to play that game one of these days. Our politicians, again, are so eager to fund World War III, but cannot be bothered to fund anything that benefits their actual constituents until, well, that's not true because their constituents are the corporations. That's who actually funds them. That's who they serve, not us. Until this mindset changes, the world will continue to fail and full-scale global war will be our fate. It's a short one, like I said, and I think it's fittingly appropriate considering the money that was sent to, appropriated by Congress, both the Senate and the House, that banned TikTok, as well as sending $60 billion to fund Ukraine, as well as $24 billion to fund Israel. There was another $15 billion in there somewhere, but they made it an even 100, I heard. You know, yeah.
Where's the money, Lebowski?
We know where the money is. The money is not coming to us. So that's upsetting. Wow, we're only 15 minutes in. Yeah, this is going to be a real short show tonight. We may go to boats at 11. Holy shit. All right. Oh my God. I'm already 2 stories down and I'm 15 minutes in. This is like Reese's first show ever. Holy shit. Told you I think I might need another story, and I didn't really prep too many. But we got a few other things we can do. But in the meantime, Congress, $100 billion. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Yes, the things we could invest in with that money domestically, 100%. Yep, it's enraging that they approved it. And Biden's going to sign it, 100%. He pushed to get this thing through because it's also got 702 with the surveillance shit, I believe. Right?
The surveillance shit.
That we covered 2 weeks ago. Right? So that got extended. And then somebody else said that got extended on April 5th by Congress or by Biden, and nobody said a word about it.
No.
All right. So how about that? Oh, about that, folks. All right. Again, this is going to be a quickie, but we do have 3 Kit Klarenberg articles to get through, so that may take us a little while. So let's get going. All right. By the way, if you have not
have you ever had a longie?
If you have, well, we've had plenty of longies, but if you have not already and you are of a means and able to and are getting value here, we do this on a volunteer basis and on a user-funded basis. So whatever you can do to help us, there are some ways to support: monthly subscriptions on Patreon, Substack, one-time donations on Rumble, Cash App, and then we're going to put up a QR code, which already is up or was up. And here. There we go. That's for Jesse's computer fund. Charlie Mack hooked us up on Friday night on the Jesse stream. And we're at 47% right now. We're almost halfway to our $1,000 goal to help Jesse there. We'll get to Jesse coming to New York City. I know we talked about that last week. So, Kit Klarenberg. Hey, you know that guy who's in the crosshairs by Meta and MI6 and all the different organizations, but this is not a surprise to me because I saw this breakout, this develop in real time. I'm very active on Substack notes, as you all know, and I log in the morning, which is very similar to Twitter, and I see that Ricky from Council of State Media posts, hey, you know, I shared this Kit Klarenberg article from his Substack about MI6 and CIA and ISIS, and they suspended my page and my account personally.
He French fried when he should have pizzaed.
Yeah, you're going to have a bad time. Exactly. So, yeah, now we're going to have all kinds of stream problems. Watch. So Facebook designates Grayzone journalist Kit Klarenberg a dangerous individual. Ooh.
So dangerous.
Right? So the article goes on, and guess who it's written by? The one and only censored Kit Klarenberg. All right? Friend of the show and Indie Media Award honoree, as is the Grayzone, so you can double hit that. That's a good sound. I love that sound. The notoriously intelligence-friendly social media network appears to have imposed a ban on posting a recent report by Kit Klarenberg, the author, and is automatically restricting users who republish his work. If you're watching on Facebook, sorry. Multiple Facebook users have reported being banned or having their posts censored after sharing an investigation by the Grayzone's Kit Klarenberg into CIA and MI6 involvement into the creation of ISIS. Huh.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Readers who post links to the piece on the social network find themselves frozen out of their accounts on the apparent grounds that Facebook has classified Klarenberg as a dangerous individual. So again, here's Ricky, and I'm friends with Ricky. He says, I just shared this article from Kit on Facebook, and the post was immediately deleted. He runs Council of State Media. We've read plenty of Council of State Media, and Ricky's a friend. So upset about that. In a Substack article he published, he wrote that the page was hit with restrictions, and I was told that I had shared a post from a dangerous individual or organization. He was only able to regain control of his Facebook page, which boasts over 44,000 fans, by removing administrative privileges from the user who shared it, which happens to be himself. There's the post on notes, where he says, I just shared this on thing, and the post was this. Aside from the absurd censorship, I'm unclear how Facebook expected me to know in advance which writers they'd blacklisted. Basically, I've been punished for not being psychic enough. Among the restrictions on my page,
you violated the law.
I can't change the page name, create any groups, or invite people to like my page, and the page has reduced visibility. Thanks for that, Meta. Given that Facebook has already reduced my page's visibility for another absurd violation, I'm assuming my posts are going to be invisible. This means that a Facebook page with 43,000 users has been rendered useless because of state censorship that's been outsourced to big tech. That's not how a free society operates. And again, shout out to Ricky and Council of State. All right, Kit felt bad. One thing you might be able to do to evade censorship is change the URL of your Substack. No idea if this will work, but it might be worth a try. Okay?
Right to jail, right away.
Yeah, that's basically what they're doing with anybody that shares it. Right? Other restrictions imposed, like they said. It was not the first time that Facebook has censored one of its users for posting a Klarenberg article, or that one. Specifically, hours beforehand, another social media user revealed that the piece had been removed from her Facebook timeline mere seconds after it was posted.
Nice.
There it is. Sterling Hartnett. All right. Immediately.
Sterling Cooper Draper Price.
That, her too. That a social media network has labeled Klarenberg a dangerous individual and is suppressing attempts to publicize his investigative journalism comes as little surprise. Klarenberg was previously banned from Twitter, I won't call it X, Elon Musk's free speech app, for offending the sensibilities of Zionist users. Yes. And in Facebook's case, the company's Global Threat Intelligence Division is staffed by former spies for the CIA, Pentagon, and National Security Agency, which we've covered on this show before.
Like you do.
Which we've covered on the show before. All right. Though they have little information on the division that can be found online, it's known to be led by Benjamin Nimmo, who is a former NATO propagandist and alumnus of the Integrity Initiative, a secret British Foreign Office information warfare operation itself, staffed by military intelligence veterans. The well-known, now forgotten Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen, who lambasted her employers before Congress for failing to provide enough content moderation towards foreign disinformation threats, also hailed from, guess where? Global Threat Intelligence. What a surprise. All right.
Global Threat Intelligence veterans must be the veterans they supported in that veterans bill. Isn't that?
No, that's a private division of Facebook.
No, I get that. I was just talking about intelligence veterans, you know?
Right. Other senior positions in global threat intelligence are reportedly occupied by David Agranovich, ex-Pentagon analyst and intelligence director for the White House National Security Council, Nathan Gleicher, who's the former Council Cybersecurity Chief and Justice Department Senior Counsel for Computer Crime and Intellectual Property, and Mike Torrey, who previously worked as an NSA and CIA cyber analyst. So we've got, like they said, ex-NSA, CIA, State Department, and Justice Department, and I mean, no bueno here. FBI, open up! Like, this is revolving door stuff, but they used to just go to K Street. Now they're going to Silicon Valley. Agranovich and Torrey were key authors of Facebook's State of Influence Operations 2017 to 2020, a report which alleged that China, Iran, and Russia, what a surprise, sought to weaponize the social network for malign purposes.
China. Yeah,
those guys. The paper omitted any mention of Western cyber warfare operations known to target social media. Surprisingly, such as the British Army's 77th Brigade and the Pentagon's Psychological Warfare Division. How about that? But recent reporting indicates that those were precisely the government-backed groups most likely to target Western social media users. Nah. In 2022, the Department of Defense was forced to conduct what mainstream media described as a sweeping audit of its clandestine psychological operations after the Pentagon was busted running a network of fake profiles to push propaganda online about Russia, China, and Iran.
Yay.
You mean, wait a minute. Agranovich and Torrey published reports about China, Iran, and Russia, and then the Pentagon gets busted running a network of fake profiles to push propaganda about Iran, China, and Russia.
Oh, those Russians.
No, nothing to see here, folks. Facebook's Global Threat Intelligence Unit first detected the U.S. military's malign activities, but instead of penalizing them, Facebook warned the Pentagon to better conceal its psychological operations, lest they be discovered by others. They helped with the cover-up. These fuckers. In September 2022, the Washington Post reported that officers at Facebook and Twitter, quote, contacted the Pentagon to raise concerns about the phony accounts they were having to remove, suspicious that they were associated with the military and the intelligence community, they don't want to say. This is as much this is the National Security Agency. This is the Homeland Security Agency. This is also CISA and CIS. This is the NGOs. This is the
NCIS.
No, not NCIS. Well, it might be NCIS too. No, I mean CIS. The one out of Stanford, and then there's CISA. That's a whole. That's like that's like CSI New Orleans, right? So
Scott Bakula.
And I'm sure that behind it is the World Economic Forum and the Council on Foreign Relations and like the people that run the new CEO of NPR, Catherine Marr. So And I know you guys talked about her.
Order.
You guys talked about her, I believe, on Wednesday night, correct? No. Good. We don't want to talk about her. Because that's part of narrative. That's part of the narrative is focusing on one person that's running one of the outlets that's unqualified, which she well is. But not going to worry about that or discuss it more than that.
That and focus on one platform or whatever, and then not actually focus on it until. That kind of thing.
So again, they were
Tic-tac-toe, a winner.
They already had known in 2022 that the military was doing this. The outlet wrote that in previous months, Global Threat Intelligence's Agranovich spoke to the Pentagon's Christopher C. Miller, then Assistant Director for Special Operations and Low Intensity Conflict. Oh, God. Which oversees influence operations policy. Agranovich had reportedly warned his counterpart that, quote, if Facebook could sniff them out, so could U.S. adversaries, unquote. A source with knowledge of the matter also told the newspaper his point was, guys, you got caught. That's a problem. Of course, for Kit Klarenberg, our wonderful friend over in Europe, however, Facebook would extend no such charity or even offer an explanation for classifying an investigative journalist as a national security threat. And here is where we may end up finding ourselves taken down, and if so, so be it. Let's do this. All right. How the CIA and MI6 created ISIS. By the same guy that we were just talking about in the Grayzone. This is at his personal Substack called Active Measures. He published it exclusively here. So please support him here if you can. Subscribe. You can subscribe monthly. But he says that within 24 hours of the horrific mass shooting in Moscow's Crocus City Hall on March 22nd, which left at least 137 innocent people dead and more than 60 critically wounded. It's a terrorist attack. U.S. officials blamed the slaughter on ISIS-K, Daesh's South Central Asian branch. That's kind of funny. For many, the attribution's celebrity raised suspicions that Washington was seeking to decisively shift Western public and Russian government focus away from the actual culprits, be that Ukraine and or Britain, Kiev's most proxy sponsor, or Kiev, or whatever they want to call themselves this week. Full details of how the four shooters were recruited, directed, armed, and financed, and who by are yet to emerge. Again, this was written on April 4th, so 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right. The Kremlin claims to have unearthed evidence that Kiev's SBU were the ultimate architects, which the agency denies, charging that Russian authorities knew about the attack and permitted it to happen. Where have we heard that before? In order to ramp up its assault on Ukraine. These guys, they accuse everybody of that which they are guilty constantly. And I'm talking about October 7th. And then there being a claim that Israel knew it happened a year in advance. Now they're claiming and attaching the same accusation to Russia to muddy it down now. Also, it's been reported that the killers received funds from a cryptocurrency wallet belonging to ISIS Tajikistan wing, which is also interesting. And allegedly, all this is allegedly, and according to
what wing?
So-and-so. Tajikistan? Is that like a...
Oh, I mean, it does sound like a delicious chicken.
I knew you were going to say that.
Tajikistan wing.
Whatever the truth of the matter, it is certain that the four individuals responsible had no clue who or what truly sponsored their monstrous actions. Contrary to the group's mainstream portrayal as inspired by fanatic extreme religious fundamentalism, ISIS are primarily guns for hire. At any given time, they act at the behest of an array of international donors bound by common interests. Funding, weapons, and orders reach its fighters circuitously and opaquely. there is almost invariably layer upon layer of cutouts between the perpetrators of an attack claimed by the group and its ultimate orchestrators and financiers. Given that ISIS-K is currently arrayed against China, Iran, and Russia, where did we see that before? In other words, the U.S. empire's primary adversaries, it is incumbent to revisit their parent group's origins. Emerging seemingly out of nowhere just a decade ago, before dominating mainstream media headlines and Western public consciousness for several years before vanishing again, at one stage, the group occupied vast swaths of Iraqi and Syrian territory, declaring an Islamic State, which issued its own currency, passports, and vehicle registration license plates. Did you know this?
Vaguely.
Had you heard of this? Did you know this? That ISIS literally tried to declare themselves a country?
Mm-hmm. Is this when they bought all those Toyotas?
The Caliphate? Somebody said all those driving me Macy. All those Toyotas. Good call, Macy. There we go.
Was that? Right. Have you seen that Shane Gillis bit about the ISIS Toyota?
Yes.
One of his best ones.
The one with the dealership is called ISIS Toyota before ISIS becomes a thing, and they have to change, and he doesn't want to change the name of the dealership.
Lean into it.
Yep. Jihad a good time.
Dude, I brought an AK.
Jihad a good time at ISIS Motors. Yes. Devastating military interventions independently launched by the U.S. and Russia wiped out that demonic construct in 2017. The CIA and MI6 were no doubt immensely relieved. After all, extremely awkward questions about how precisely ISIS came to be were comprehensively extinguished. As we shall see, the terror group and its caliphate did not emerge in the manner of lightning on a dark night, but due to dedicated, determined policy hatched in, yes, go figure, London and Washington, and implemented by their spying agencies.
Well, what was the thing? Joe had it in a video where it was like, when they asked what the Israeli, like what Mossad translates to or whatever, was like, what was it? Israeli Secret Intelligence Service?
Right, ISIS. Right. Yes.
And then weren't we calling it ISIS and ISIL and all that? Like, it changed names 3 or 4 times before they stuck with them.
Steph Gee has it. Yep. Got that. You got it nailed. Exactly. Knesset. Continuingly hostile. So here we go. RAND Corporation, we know, is a highly influential Washington, D.C. headquartered think tank, bankrolled to the tune of almost $100 million annually by the Pentagon and other U.S. government entities. It regularly disseminates recommendations on national security, foreign affairs, military strategy, and covert and overt actions overseas. These pronouncements are more often than not subsequently adopted as policy. They're like the ALEC of global policy. ALEC does that for like domestic policy and like Christian type of conservatism and control over American citizens. RAND Corporation, they give their global assessment, their global threat assessments. For example, and Kit adds, a July 2016 RAND paper on the unthinkable prospect of quote-unquote war with China forecast for a need to fill Eastern Europe with U.S. soldiers in advance of a hot conflict with Beijing, as Russia would undoubtedly side with its neighbor and ally in such a dispute. It was therefore considered necessary to tie down Moscow's forces at its borders. 6 months later, scores of NATO troops duly arrived in the region, ostensibly to counter quote-unquote Russian aggression. How about that? Right? Yeah, us too, Animairs. Internet is glitching everywhere. Right, we're getting booted and... So yes, Kit Klarenberg. By the way, you should tweet to Elon Musk and at X support to restore at Kit Klarenberg's account, please. Free Kit Klarenberg's Twitter account. All right. Similarly, in 2019, Rand published extending Russia. Russian scum. Come on. It set out
scum.
Yeah, those guys. It set out a range of possible means to bait Moscow into overextending itself so as to undermine the regime's stability. These methods included providing lethal aid to Ukraine. Have we done that? Did we just give them $60 billion last night? Well, not exactly last night, but we're going to this week once Joe Biden signs it into law. Increasing support for the U.S. Syrian rebels. Anybody heard of the White Helmets? Promoting regime change.
You just fell out of a coconut tree?
Promoting regime change in Belarus. They've done that. Exploiting tensions in the Caucasus. We've seen that as well. Neutralizing Russian influence in Central Asia and Moldova. Most of this came to pass thereafter. So basically, they're writing military policy.
Yeah.
In this context, Rand's November 2008 Unfolding the Long War makes for disquieting reading. It explored ways the U.S. global war on terror could be prosecuted once coalition forces formally left Iraq under terms of a withdrawal agreement inked by Baghdad and Washington that same month. What month? When was that? 2008. This development by definition
2008.
This development by definition threatened Anglo dominion over Persian Gulf oil and gas resources we know is not allowed, which will remain a strategic priority when the occupation was officially over. I mean, yeah, member berries. That's wonderful. So he says, quote, so Rand had declared then that this priority will interact strongly with that of prosecuting the long war. The think tank went on to propose a divide and rule strategy to maintain U.S. hegemony in Iraq despite the power vacuum created by withdrawal. Wait, what? How?
Yeah.
Under its auspices, Washington would exploit fault lines between Iraq's Salafi jihadist groups. Not that any of them could be potentially like Democrat, like want to govern themselves and be like normal civilians. They're all jihadists, right? That all these Salafi jihadist groups would turn them against each other and dissipate the energy on internal conflicts. Man, that sounds like what they've been trying to do to the left for 3 years. While also supporting authoritative Sunni governments against a continuingly hostile Iran, which was always the ultimate goal because they are also well-funded, I would guess, by AIPAC. I'm sure we could look into that funding. This strategy, quote, relies heavily on covert action, information operations, unconventional warfare, and support to indigenous security forces. Indigenous. The U.S. and its local allies could use the nationalist jihadists to launch proxy transnational jihadists in the eyes of the local populace. This would be an inexpensive way of buying time until the U.S. can return to its full attention to the region. They're saying it right now out loud. They're saying the quiet part out loud. U.S. leaders could also choose to capitalize on the sustained Shia-Sunni conflict by taking the side of conservative Sunni regimes against Shiite empowerment movements in the Muslim world. Nice that the Rand Corporation at least acknowledges the difference between Shia and Sunni. And then they published this motherfucking thing. Ay, ay, ay.
Oy vey?
I'm not going to give this an oy vey, but this is a Rand Corporation chart, an incomprehensible graphic from the Rand report called The Current Dominant Factors and Examples of How U.S. Actions Can Be Represented. Look at what's going on there. You've literally got a section that says perceived bias toward Israel.
Well,
All right.
Nice if they care about someone, I guess.
Great danger.
You know.
So it was that CIA and MI6 began supporting Sunni nationalist jihadists throughout West Asia at the suggestion of Rand Corporation, that obviously has deep ties to CIA. The next year, Bashar Assad rejected a Qatari proposal to route Doha's vast gas reserves directly to Europe via a $10 billion, 1,500-kilometer long pipeline spanning Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Syria, and Turkey. As extensively documented in WikiLeaks released diplomatic cables, thank you, Julian Assange, U.S., Israeli, and Saudi intelligence immediately decided to overthrow Assad by fomenting a local Sunni rebellion and started financing opposition groups for the purpose. I'm going to stop right there for a second.
Fomenting discord, you say?
Fomenting discord. Yes. They were fomenting discord. They tried to undermine, but Assad must go, right? They've been trying to undermine Assad and get rid of him because of this. A pipeline. Look at how far back this effort became turbocharged in October 2011, with MI6 redirecting weapons and extremist fighters from Libya to Syria in the wake of Gaddafi's televised murder. Who led that revolution, by the way?
I can't believe you've done this.
Yes, the CIA oversaw that operation using British intelligence as an arm's-length cutout to avoid notifying Congress of its machinations. Only in June 2013, with then-President Barack Obama's official authorization, did the agency's cloak and dagger connivances in Damascus become formalized and later admitted under the name Timber Sycamore. If you want to learn more about Timber Sycamore, ask our friend Steve Poikinen about Timber Sycamore. He'll tell you all about it. And here's the New York Times article about...
Well, the thing about sycamores is...
It's great. Behind the sudden death of a $1 billion secret CIA war in Syria. Even the New York Times had to publish and admit this shit. Okay? There's the Toyota trucks you were talking about.
Yep. He says Toyota.
At this time, Western officials universally referred to their Syrian proxies as moderate rebels. Yet Washington was well aware its surrogates were dangerous extremists seeking to carve a fundamentalist caliphate out of the territory they occupied. An August 2012 U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency report released under Freedom of Information laws observes that events in West Asia were taking a clear sectarian direction, with radical Salafist groups the major forces driving the insurgency in Syria. So what does that mean? These factions included Al-Qaeda's Iraqi wing, AQI, and its umbrella offshoot, ISI, the Islamic State of Iraq. The pair went on to form ISIS, a prospect that the Defense Intelligence Agency report not only predicted, but seemingly endorsed. Here's the quote from the report. If the situation unravels, there's the possibility of establishing a declared or undeclared Salafist principality in eastern Syria. This is exactly what the supporting powers to the opposition want in order to isolate the Syrian regime. ISI could also declare an Islamic State through its union with other terrorist organizations in Iraq and Syria, which will create great danger.
Will Robinson.
Danger, Will Robinson. Despite such grave concerns, the CIA continued to dispatch unaccountably vast shipments of weapons and money to Syria's moderate rebels, well knowing that this aid would inevitably, ding, 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 what would it end up? End up in ISIS's hands. Yes. Moreover, Britain concurrently ran secret programs costing millions to train opposition paramilitaries in the art of killing, while providing medical assistance to wounded jihadists. London also donated multiple ambulances purchased from Qatar to armed groups in the country. Wait, wasn't that group called the White Helmets?
Like that.
Leaked documents.
Only if you sniff a backpack once or twice.
Maybe. Leaked documents indicate the risk of equipment and personnel from these efforts being lost to al-Nusra, ISIS, and other extremist groups in West Asia was judged unavoidably high by British intelligence. They knew that there was a good chance that these would fall into these people's hands. Yet there was no concomitant.
Great band name, by the way. You had two great band names in this article already. You got Moderate Rebels. Great punk band.
There was already a show, look, Max Blumenthal, Max and Ben Norton used to have a channel and a show called Moderate Rebels, a podcast. That was outstanding. It's one of the first things I found.
Leaked Documents is another good band name.
I thought you were going to say al-Nusra, ISIS, and other extremist groups.
I mean, that's their opener. That's the Leaked Documents opener.
That's a punk band if I ever heard one. Right? Yet there was no concomitant strategy for countering this hazard at all, and the operations continue to pace. No surprise. It's almost as if training and arming ISIS was precisely the desired outcome of MI6.
Yeah.
And a mayor stating what Jimmy Dore did: "We are the terrorists." Right? Yeah. Golden Monarch, that chart looks like a nuclear bomb, that design chart. Yep. It's really bad. All right. So that's Kit's active measures. Go subscribe there. Go support him. KitKlarenberg.com. That's just his URL. He bought the personalized one just like we did. Now, this one was an older one that happened right as we were coming back, and there was so much else going on that I didn't even really address it, but we talked about it a little bit earlier, and he did publish this in the Grayzone also, was that Kit had published something in Grayzone about being censored on Twitter. So, following years of pressure from Israel lobbyists and British spooks, I was finally banned by Twitter X. What does my removal say about Elon Musk, who flaunts his opposition to censorship while promising to build an everything app where you can lose access to banking and messaging for violating dubious speech codes? Not just banking and messaging, but also potentially income for those who are blue checks. We're not generating any income. We're not monetized on Twitter. We don't have a big enough account anywhere. It says that on February 17th, he was suspended from Twitter without warning. The cause was mass reporting by Zionist activists that he defended. His removal was justified on the basis that he violated Twitter's rules against quote-unquote violent speech. Having endlessly committed violence on the platform, in particular the Gaza genocide, I'm flummoxed. Not least because a post from one of my Zionist detractors, which openly calls for me to be battered on a weekly basis, quote-unquote, over my political views, remains extant and publicly up to date without being suspended. And there it is.
Don't fuck with us or we'll rip your nuts off.
Yeah, that too. So, despite repeated requests for clarity from Twitter, I have no idea whether I will ever be reinstated. In February, I received from support stating that the suspension will only be reversed after 3 months. But just a few sentences later, the email contradicted itself, stating in closing that the ban would last just a month. Meanwhile, whenever I log into Twitter, my profile appears to have 0 followers or follows. I cannot view or search anyone's tweets, including my own, and my DMs are inaccessible. Have they been erased? A landing page message reads, quote, "Your account is permanently in read-only mode, which means you can't post, repost, or like content, and you won't be able to create new accounts."
What?
They did this to Joe, I think, at one point.
Mm-hmm.
In January 2024, Twitter purged a number of prominent, predominantly left-winger explanation. Their suspensions were lifted only after a deluge of complaints poured into the personal account of Elon Musk, the libertarian tech maven and self-proclaimed free speech warrior, who won't even have to take a position on Julian Assange, who purchased Twitter with his personal fortune. If I remember correctly, that the people purged were Alan McLeod and Ken Klippenstein, among others. Those were the two most prominent at that point.
Yeah.
Kit is grateful that scores of Twitter users have done the same following his own suspension. However, Musk has kept mum about his case. I wonder why. While I may not have as many followers as those abruptly defenestrated in January, Kit's work has most widely been shared on Twitter, with some posts gaining millions of impressions. Most viewed was his December 2023 revelation that an unadvertised and unnoticed Russian government plane was parked in DC's Dulles Airport, a visit which likely represented the beginning of the Ukraine proxy war's end. We're still waiting for that, by the way, Kit.
Yeah,
I hope that's true. Yeah, if only. So 4 months later, there's no end in sight. We just gave him $60 billion more. Kit says this is quite a remarkable turnaround, given the concerted effort to suppress his Twitter output for as long as he's used the platform. One of the most illuminating disclosures in the Twitter files exposed how the hyper-censorious regime that controlled the social media platform before Musk's takeover required explicit authorization from managers to throttle accounts with more than 100,000 followers. I hear that. Until then, engineers had free rein to covertly censor, suppress, and shadow ban anyone they wished, however they wished, without any oversight whatsoever. That seems like it might be problematic. This secret protocol offered a compelling explanation for curious developments regarding my own Twitter account in the summer of 2022. For 18 months following my 2021 registration for Twitter, my follower count remained stubbornly low. This was until the Grayzone unmasked celebrity journalist, quote-unquote, Paul Mason, as a British intelligence asset who directly coordinated attacks on anti-war figures and movements with a friend in the Foreign Office. Kit was the lead investigator on this series of reports. The exposés, of course, we know now, generated significant attention the world over. His followers duly began multiplying by hundreds daily. Curiously, however, whenever he was a few dozen shy of 10,000, the total would crash back down. We've seen this too, the purges. Evidently, Twitter staffers and powerful forces breathing down their necks were absolutely determined no one saw what I had to say. Gosh, that sounds like it might be happening to another account we may know.
Yep.
Besides the exposés of Mason that he worked on, there was his October 2019 report revealing that Gordon McMillan, a senior Twitter executive, as a member of the 77th Brigade, which was mentioned earlier, the British Army's shadowy psychological warfare unit, which specializes in the weaponization of social media. Nothing to see here, folks. And McMillan and his fellow national security cadre exacted revenge on me when I was finally banned from Twitter or from Twitter X. And what does my permanent removal say about Twitter's new boss, Elon, Elmo, who advertises Twitter as a platform that champions free speech while promising to build the Everything app where you could, like we said, presumably lose your access to your bank messaging history for violating dubious speech codes. So, Gordon McMillan was one of many high-ranking staffers rightly fired from the company upon Musk's acquisition. From Kit's perspective, while the owner's politics could be further removed from his own, he's largely defended and embraced the changes that's been implemented, as has Reef, and in some ways, I've at least played a wait-and-see game, but while remembering that this guy A is a massive intelligence contractor, okay, as well as that he refuses to take a position on Julian Assange, which is a glaring red flag if you're really about free speech.
Yeah.
David Sirota. What? Yeah. I also, by the way, and I'll show you that, I recently challenged Judd Legume on that, who gave a bullshit, weaselly, conniving answer saying that there's 100 things that he could talk about. He just doesn't see anything to talk about on that topic. What? Anyway.
Congratulations on being the world's biggest bitch.
Well, during an October 26, 2023 all-hands meeting at Twitter headquarters, that is the one-year anniversary from when he bought the company, Musk opened his remarks by announcing that he was transforming the company from what it was, Twitter 1.0, to the Everything app, which is like WeChat. He vowed to establish, quote, a single application that encompasses everything. We know what happens when you try to do everything. You can do payments, messages, video, calling, whatever you'd like from one single convenient place. We just don't have that. It doesn't exist outside of China. Like I said, WeChat. Right? I might not have been using Twitter for everything, but it was an extremely useful tool in my personal and professional life. My banning offered me a stark illustration of the dangers of relying so heavily on a privately owned social media app, especially one that provides features that are almost essential in a digital world, meaning it should be made a utility. Many are anxious. Many are anxious about the rise of digital payments and currencies, for this would inevitably grant financial institutions and governments monopoly power over how citizens can spend their cash, and even more gravely, whether they can. Fall foul of such powerful forces, even accidentally, and you might find yourself frozen out of your life savings, perhaps forever. If Twitter is to truly become an everything app, forever. That probably got cut out.
What did?
Forever, ever?
What, you're forever?
My Chris Rock impression,
sure,
yes.
That one's better.
The implications of a ban would be greatly multiplied, with suspensions effectively locking a user out of every sphere of their public and private life. We thankfully haven't reached that point yet, but the consequences of Twitter's arbitrary suspension process are very real. There are now scores of people, comrades, collaborators, critics, and journalistic sources from whom I'm now cut off, perhaps forever. That's because these assholes won't get on Substack Notes, because, by the way, you can find him on Substack Notes. You can also find him over on Telegram.
Rely on a privately funded platform again? Probably not the best idea.
Telegram. There's other ones, too. Like we said, diversification, platform whack-a-mole, like we've been advocating for from minute one. Meanwhile, the contents of our conversations seem to have been rendered permanently inaccessible, except perhaps by Elmo Musk himself. Yes, I can't find my DM thread with Kit Klarenberg from before he got suspended. The vaguely explained arbitrary suspension means that he's not only being deprived the ability to express his opinions in a public forum, hold the powerful to account, expose hypocrisy, criminality, and even genocide, and directly engage with his supporters and detractors. It also means that he's lost a platform through which to conduct sensitive conversations with sources around the globe.
Yeah.
Right? This is like so infuriating. Is this the start of something worse? Well, this is like foreshadowing what Facebook is now doing to his article. Remember, this was written a while back. In March.
Yeah.
In a June 2019 op-ed, United Nations Special Rapporteur on Torture, Neil Smelzer, once wrote that once WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange had been dehumanized through isolation, ridicule, and shame, just like the witches we used to burn at the stake, it was easy to deprive him of his most fundamental rights without provoking public outrage worldwide, unquote. I highly encourage everybody to read Neil Smelzer's book about the torture of Julian Assange. A key component of the WikiLeaks founder's isolation, unquote unquote, was the Ecuadorian embassy cutting off his internet access in March of 2018. As I previously revealed, that act was just one aspect of a wide-ranging black propaganda campaign executed by a British intelligence cutout called the Integrity Initiative. By falsely framing Assange as a Russian...
Of course they call it that.
By falsely... Yeah, of course they do, right? Because they always name it the most dystopian, horrifying shit that's the complete opposite of what it is.
So what it is. Yeah. Yep.
By falsely framing Julian as a Russian agent, London successfully pressured Quito into banning his personal visits, as well as any and all communication with the outside world. Immediately thereafter, British police launched Operation Pelican, a scheme designed to extract him from the embassy and ultimately transfer him into U.S. custody. They were all in cahoots on this together. Operation Pelican succeeded 1 year later when Ecuador exchanged Julian for an IMF loan, a $4 billion IMF loan, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And Assange has festered in Belmarsh prison, Britain's Gitmo, ever since. Free Julian Assange. God almighty, free Julian Assange. As he awaits extradition to Washington, where he could face 175 years in a supermax prison and special administrative measures, future charges potentially that could carry the death penalty, rendering that 175 years null and void, Assange has been blocked from communicating with the outside world. We would love, I am dying. I think we all are. I know, Misty, we're dying to hear from him. We want to hear his voice. We want to hear what he has to say. We want to interview him. We want to speak uninterrupted, uncontrolled access directly to the man. Let him speak. They're not letting him do that. Press photographers were even prohibited from capturing his wedding day inside the jail on the grounds of national security. We've covered that at length. Is Kit's Twitter or suspension part of a similar effort to isolate him? So when the British state deprives him of his most fundamental rights, it won't provoke public outrage? Yes. Yes, it will, Kit. Alternatively, and you're not Julian Assange, and I don't think that he's trying to equate himself to Julian Assange, but he's trying to equate what they're doing to him the way to isolate to the same way that they did to Julian. Alternatively, recall the Twitter role, the role that Twitter played in the case of independent journalist Steve Sweeney, who was arbitrarily detained in Mexico while on his way to cover Nicaragua's November 2021 election, which the U.S. State Department had condemned. Costa and Fiorella, I believe, also were in Nicaragua for that and covered that election for the Convo Couch. Steve Sweeney recently was interviewed and was on The Politics of Survival with Tar Reid on INN, so you can check that out too. Sweeney might have languished in prison for interminable period had word not immediately spread across Twitter, resulting in his release after 3 nightmarish days in custody without food or clean water. Activists in Mexico were at the forefront of the push to free Sweeney. Shout out to those brave activists. Since May of 2023, when British counter-terror officials detained, interrogated, and digitally strip-searched him for 6 hours without granting his right to silence or privacy, he's found travel unnerving. Particularly the act of arriving at, walking through, and exiting airports. Understandably so. He says, I don't know what information global databases display about me, which claims regarding my character have been shared with a foreign government, or whether I've been erroneously flagged as an international security threat. Influential security state-tied figures like Paul Mason have openly clamored for me to be jailed as punishment for my journalistic activities. Heidi Backram, the British pro-Israel activist who led the campaign to mass report me on Twitter over my solidarity with Palestine, has expressed hope that I will never again be allowed to visit my homeland. Her supporters have echoed this sentiment. Gross. Here are clear indications that a number of shadowy, intelligence-linked elements are monitoring my activity online. Or there are. In November of 2023, an Irish defense consultant who claims to have advised government, military, and civil society actors in Ukraine and other European countries regarding defense policy bizarrely alleged that Klarenberg showed his FSB signature training as early as 2014?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. He says, I have no idea what they were alluding to, and certainly have never received any training by Russian intelligence, but it's not unreasonable to think I'd be in the military alliance's crosshairs. That same month, the NATO Stratcom Center of Excellence described me as one of the agents and sympathizers of a hostile regime in a report which effusively advocated for the cyberbullying, harassment, stalking, and doxing of anti-imperialists.
Yeah.
So, apparently, not content with simply targeting him personally, these same forces have relentlessly attacked the Grayzone as well. Kit is the editor-in-chief of the Grayzone UK. In August of 2022, longtime British intelligence operative Ross Burley publicly smeared the Grayzone as a Russian propaganda outlet and asserted that it was
Russian scum!
incredibly irresponsible for YouTube and other social media companies to platform our journalists. The cause of his ire may have been our 2021 report on leaked files that exposed details on Britain's wide-ranging clandestine intelligence operations targeting Russia. In response, Twitter took the unprecedented step of applying a warning label to each and every tweet linked to this report, cautioning users that it contained materials obtained through hacking. The policy backfired, however, Policy backfired, however, after countless users mocked the label and turned it into a meme. Others, meanwhile, suggested Twitter's label simply amounted to a seal of authenticity that confirmed the leaked material's veracity. As to the question of why the social network chose to slap this label on the Grayzone exclusively and overlook Western-funded OSINT collectives such as Belling Crap, which routinely publish stolen material, recent developments may provide some clue. What do you mean? In February, Politico revealed that Britain's Defense and Security Media Advisory Committee had been unsuccessfully attempting to woo major social media platforms to join its board. The committee is a ministry defense-run censorship mechanism tasked with dictating which security-related stories mainstream media is authorized to report. Like I said, we have free speech in the United States. In Britain, they don't have that. When the committee asks British journalists...
Allegedly, we have that.
Right. When the committee asks British journalists and editors to withhold information from the public, they almost always comply. Politico quoted Jeffrey Dodds, a DSMA secretary and former military official, as saying Google and Meta were among the social media giants on the committee's wish list. No surprise, he proposed that tech firms monitor their platforms for content relating to Britain's national security, quote-unquote, then seek the committee's advice on whether to censor. Yet, his effort has been so far unsuccessful as the companies reportedly, quote, felt that they couldn't sit on the board because it was too linked to the government, unquote. Give me a mother... Too linked? All these guys are linked to the government.
Yeah.
They're crawling with agents. They're doing the government's bidding constantly. Still, Dodds remained optimistic that the British government could come up with a grand bargain with the tech giants. Then hopefully we'll be able to get the tech giants back on board. Fuck you. Politico said the committee was steadfast in its determination to get social media firms aboard. Dodds remarked that moving forward, quote, there's probably going to be less print, just as much broadcasting, and a continued increase in social media and online news, so we need to get into this game. So what did Facebook do, by the way, in Canada? They shut down news entirely. That's the next step is these social media platforms are now just shutting down news so they don't have to deal with being accused of misinformation.
Oh, of course.
Which honestly could be another reason why Facebook pulled Kit's article. It could be deemed as news, which they don't want published anywhere. Publicly available minutes of the DSMA's committee's June 2023 meeting show that the body's deputy secretary, retired Navy Captain John Perkins, disclosed that between October 2022 and April 2023, material of, quote, extreme sensitivity in national security terms had been protected from inadvertent disclosure, thanks to the committee's interventions with the journalists. How much you want to bet that had to do with Ukraine? This material was of the most sensitive nature he'd seen. Maybe something about Nord Stream, possibly? Wait, no, it didn't blow up until September of 2023. It could have been the planning of Nord Stream potentially, because we know that in February, Biden had already said, we know we're going to do it. We're not going to allow it to be built, right? They knew then that they were going to blow it up.
Yep.
While the nature of that material was unstated, Perkins may well have been referring to a series of investigations that the Grayzone published throughout that precise period, detailing London's secret and pivotal role in escalating the Ukraine proxy war. Given this outlet's reputation as a leading source of insight on the cloak and dagger and machinations of the U.S. and British-led Western national security state, the DSMA committee would welcome its suppression on Twitter X and other platforms at least as much as it did in my indefinite suspension. Again, remember, they're coming after Rumble, too. After years of pressure from Western security state operatives, Kit was finally banished from Twitter X under the watch of billionaire owner who has flaunted his ideological opposition to censorship. On his Coming Everything app, it seems everything you can and say will be used against you, especially if you go against Zionists, and you call them out and expose them for their crap. Please support the Grayzone. Please support Kit Klarenberg. Please support Jett with that QR code down there. And please support INN if you can. These people have, and we love them for it. People like Charlie Mack and Anna Mayers, who are actually in chat right now. Love you to pieces. Thank you so much for all your support. Hempcar gave us $4 on Friday night during Angel's 50th stream. Thank you so much. We did see you over there for that too.
Oh, that's nice.
Really appreciate that.
Please.
Right? Yes, Anna, appropriate billing crap. Right? I don't know where Cookies went. Cookies might have passed out. Right? Did Laurel get too serious? I hope not. Bunch of people I saw 6 people dropped off and now they're back. So I don't know what the heck happened there. YouTube may be playing games. It could be the lag. I don't know. All right.
There's your problem.
That took an hour on its own, that segment, which will break up into a couple of different clips on its own. That's good, because the last one will take a little while, and then we'll take a break and go to boats. And I think this is going to be a spicy discussion. If we're still and hey, we're still live on Facebook. How about that shit, huh? Nobody's watching, but we're live. Facebook allowed
I thought this was America.
They allowed us to read the story verbatim, but they blocked somebody from posting it to their group instantly.
Knock on wood.
Now, what is going to happen? No, I know. Actually, what I say is that all the links are in the Substack, so there won't be a link to it on the post for this stream on Facebook, at least. There will be on IndieMediaToday.com. Yeah, love you too, Anna. Thank you. All right. Man. This is rough.
Yep.
I think just about everybody knows what happened yesterday in New York City. And if you don't, there are 2 things that have been happening. And I would like to also afterwards maybe address the protests that have been happening at Columbia University. But on top of that, there's a trial happening, of course, in Manhattan. and for Donald Trump, a civil trial, I believe. I'm not even sure which one it is. There's a bunch of them that he's going to have. But this man self-immolated in front of the courthouse yesterday. And we saw it. We saw it and it's on Twitter right now. You can go watch it. I'm not going to play it. It's horrific. I know these guys did on INN News, and I give them all the credit in the world for it. I watched it again. I watched it earlier in its basic entirety, and it's horrific.
Yep.
So Colin Rugg, and I'm not really familiar with him, but I believe he's more on the right than on the left. He's got a big following, 1 million followers, you can see on Twitter, co-owner of Trending Politics. He's not a lefty for sure, right? But he says that the man who lit himself on fire outside of Trump's trial in New York City has been identified as Max Azzarello. And he takes some of what was published in what some people are referring to as a quote-unquote manifesto. I don't like that word at all. But he wrote a Substack post, of all things, was his final message. We're going to read his post, and I'm going to play his 17-second video here. This was his final message.
Start a fucking revolution. Start a fucking revolution. Start a fucking revolution. You've got nothing to lose.
All right, and he apparently tweeted this out or put this out on his Instagram stories. And this is what he had thrown out about. This is the pamphlet that he had apparently thrown out right before he did it. So what the hell's going on here? Yeah.
What is going on?
I don't know. This is horrible. At least he didn't harm anyone else physically to begin with. That's correct. Trump is here. Trump is with Biden, and they're about to fascist coup us, is a sign. I don't know if he had that sign or somebody else held that sign. But that's the scene. That's from a scene just right in front of it. Our friend, Just a Thought, Aaron, everyone keeps saying this man is mentally ill, but he's 100% right, and we are all sadly going to learn the hard way. What is she talking about? Well, he apparently had a Substack called the Ponzi Papers.
Coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
Now, before we read his article, I want you to look at his bio, which is written under the pseudonym M. Crosby, which may be his middle name or his favorite hockey player's last name, for all we know.
Yep.
He says that he did 1,500 hours of research since Peter Thiel started a bank run in March, and now he knows the secrets of the world. Cheers to America's first military coup and its second revolution. All right, and he's got this Substack that he's been writing for about a year called the Ponzi Papers. All right, and we're going to read this article that he published Friday. By the way, you cannot like this article. I've tried. It will not allow you to like this article. It just refreshes. Yes, he died. He succumbed to his wounds. He died. He says, "My name is Max Azzarello, and I am an investigative researcher who has set himself on fire outside the Trump trial in Manhattan. This extreme act of protest is to draw attention to an urgent and important discovery. We are victims of a totalitarian con, and our own government, along with many of their allies, is about to hit us with an apocalyptic fascist world coup. These claims sound like fanatical conspiracy theory, but they are not. They are proof of conspiracy. They're conspiracy fact. If you investigate this mountain of research, you will prove them too. If you learn a great deal about Ponzi schemes, you will discover that our life is a lie. If you follow this story and the links below, you'll discover the rotten truth of post-truth America. Truthiness. You will learn the scariest and stupidest story in world history, and you'll realize that we are all in a desperate state of emergency that requires your action. To my friends and family, witnesses and first responders, I deeply apologize for inflicting this pain upon you, but I assure you it's a drop in the bucket compared to what our government intends to inflict. Because these words are true, this is an act of revolution, as you heard him sing. This is where he starts to tell his story. Last March, a billionaire named Peter Thiel started a bank run on Silicon Valley Bank. I knew enough about Thiel that I found this incredibly suspicious. My hunch was that this was intentional, though I couldn't fathom why. I began investigating online and quickly found cryptocurrency's fingerprints all over it. I think we've learned that SBF and FTX, his crypto outlet, was
FTX. That's
right. He said the bank run occurred just days after Silvergate Bank, which catered almost exclusively to crypto companies, collapsed. Meanwhile, several crypto cheerleaders were all over financial media warning of a regional banking collapse, and nobody in media was addressing the clear crypto connections. I dug deep into the financials of Thiel's venture capital firm Founders Fund and eventually uncovered the following which is all proven many times over. I don't know if I agree that it's all been proven many times over, but I know that Golden Monarch in the chat would certainly agree with this part. Cryptocurrency is our first planetary multi-trillion-dollar Ponzi scheme. It was expressly created for this purpose by a laundry list of rich and powerful people out of Stanford, Silicon Valley, and Harvard and Facebook. Okay. Not very odd that it's lagging right now, Cookies. It's been lagging all show, honestly, back and forth. Hi, Cynic. Now I'm glad to see you here tonight, too. The March 2023 bank failures were all intentional. The banks were used to move out stolen Ponzi money. This signals that they're no longer dumping cash into the cryptocurrency Ponzi afloat to keep it afloat, and it will soon go insolvent, as all Ponzis must and do. When the Ponzi scheme goes insolvent, it will take down half the stock market with it. The perpetrators use their major companies to pipe into the blockchain so they can funnel money out from the crypto exchanges. And this includes Google, Tesla, Apple, PayPal, Facebook, Disney, Walmart, Target, InBev, Zoom, and countless others. Now you've also got the major banks involved also because of this crypto derivative stuff that they're now starting to do, ETF crypto. It's a Ponzi scheme so large that it created global inflation, which is why the price of Bitcoin has been a remarkable leading indicator for inflation rates. Victims who bought crypto don't realize their money has already been stolen, so the money gets double counted by the victims and the criminals who stole it. Here's where it really gets interesting. As it turns out, our elites are awash in Ponzi schemes. Stanford's StartX.com investment fund and a certain guy who didn't hang himself, his program for evolutionary dynamics he ran at Harvard are both fake science Ponzi factories that these schools have invested billions in. They're filled with fraudulent companies that use smoke and mirrors to promise miraculous new technology, but always collapse while the perpetrators only get richer. Go figure. Funneling trillions of dollars in stolen cash through the stock market, created through the largest stock market anomaly in history. The stock market chart signature of a Ponzi scheme is a massive increase while they stack up cash, when a massive fall, and then a massive fall as they funnel out of the stolen cash. This chart shape appeared in all the companies listed above. In order to explain the massive anomaly, our criminal government unleashed COVID on the world and told us those were the stay-at-home stocks, unquote. Allegedly, safe and effective. Thank you, YouTube. If not, we're over on Rumble and Rockfin.
Mm-hmm.
Ponzi schemes are vicious beasts, and cryptocurrency is history's largest Ponzi by orders of magnitude. It could be described best as an economic doomsday device intentionally made to shatter the world economy. For a couple of reasons, I'm going to stop there for a second, because number one, they can cut off power to an area, and all of a sudden, within a day or two, you have no access to your crypto. Because without a crypto wallet, without power, you got nothing. All right? On top of the fact that they can restrict access to or trade with certain wallets or certain exchanges or certain cryptocurrencies. Complete on top of the fact that what's behind it other than the money that you had originally put into it, which has already been siphoned out, according to this. The U.S. government is fully involved in this totalitarian con. To illustrate its bipartisan support, I'll note that nearly every participant of the Clinton Global Initiative has ties to cryptocurrency, while two of the biggest tech VCs who participated are Trump associates Josh Kushner and the Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci. To better understand our form of government, I will point you to one of the most astonishing pieces of standalone evidence I've found. Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton's 1988 DNC speech when he nominated Mike Dukakis for president against George H.W. Bush. The speech is a vile, mean-spirited roast of Dukakis that makes no sense whatsoever. For Clinton to ruthlessly attack a member of his own party should have been political suicide, and he repeatedly mocks Dukakis' noble and earnest qualities. And I think as he mocked his eyebrows, too, if I remember correctly. But notably, actor Rob Lowe, of all people, who was supporting Dukakis, was a victim of a teen sex blackmail operation at the DNC that year. I remember like a Rob Lowe scandal, but I didn't know that it was at the DNC. Since we all know that Clinton is a close associate with teen sex blackmail artist, guy who hung himself with a paper t-shirt, we can suddenly make...
when Rob Lowe was dating the person he didn't know was a prostitute, right? And then that was the DNC found that, and oh wait, no, that was the West Wing. Sorry.
That's the show, right? Where again, predictive programming, or actually they're letting the story out afterwards. Okay,
afterwards. Since
we know that Clinton is a close associate with guy who hung himself with a paper T-shirt who didn't really hang himself, we can make suddenly perfect sense of the nonsensical speech by applying this lens. Think about it as Bill Clinton is a cocky mob boss who blackmailed Mike Dukakis because Dukakis thought his job was to help the public. He teases out future public revelation that Kitty Dukakis drank rubbing alcohol and offers a strange anecdote about the crack epidemic that reveals he's an exceedingly proud drug runner. What does this revelation tell us? That our government is conning us completely. Uniparty, that Bill Clinton was secretly on H.W. Bush's side, former CIA director, and that Democrat versus Republican division has been entirely manufactured ever since. Clinton is with Bush, Gore is with Bush, Trump is with Hillary, and so on. When they present themselves in public, they are acting as characters that are against one another, practicing kayfabe, as wrestlers do. Again, shout out to our friend Angel in the afternoon.
What's the
kayfabe is like the fake. It's the fake fighting within wrestling. It's the false bravado and the I'm gonna get him and blah, 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 when they go back behind the scenes into the locker room and they all hang out together.
Yeah,
it's the illusion that they're fighting each other. As it turns out, we have a secret kleptocracy. Both parties are run by financial criminals whose only goals are to divide, deceive, and bleed us dry. Wow. Thought I knew the difference from the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. I know those words from somewhere. A song called Red Pilled by Jett. They divide the public against it.
Don't lie, and they spell disaster for you.
Well, kayfabe, exactly. They divide the public against itself and blame the other party while everything gets worse and more expensive, and only a handful of people take all the money. And I said to you when I read this last night, for the first time, I said, oh my God, he's saying basically what I've been saying, which is red versus blue while they all run away with the green. We're all distracted. Don't fall for it.
Yeah.
He says one of the key findings of this research is that Harvard University is one of the largest organized crime fronts in history. Skull and bones. What? Also, Yale University's in on this too. He didn't catch that. Which is how they churn out billionaires. It's a major hub of this sprawling criminal network. As it turns out, dozens of the writers of The Simpsons went to Harvard. Wait, what? Yeah. You know how Simpsons seems to always... You know how Simpsons always seems to like know what's happening years before it happens? He says, so I asked myself the question, if The Simpsons served the interests of organized crime, how would it do so? Well, it offers a dysfunctional family suffering from moral decay, a community incapable of solving its problems, a worker drone who slaves away for an evil billionaire, and cathartic laughs for our poor collective circumstances. There are some notable specifics.
Look at how they massacred my boy.
Marge Corleone.
And I'll say it again.
That was Marge Corleone, by the way.
Democracy simply doesn't work.
Yes, that was Marge Corleone.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Yeah. Holy shit, that's great. There are some notable specifics as it relates to this research, too. Yes, he's actually going to list Simpsons episodes and how they link to all of this. In Marge versus the Monorail, the town...
I'm in danger.
Yes, the townsfolk are too oafish and invested to invest in the town's needs or fix Main Street and fall for the charms of a dazzling showman with a bogus monorail Ponzi scheme. SBF.
Yeah, I
When
remember.
we know that the show is closely linked to an organization that invests billions of dollars in Ponzi factories, this becomes quite damning. In Lisa the Iconoclast, Lisa discovers that the town founder Jebediah Springfield was a secret criminal con artist and that the townsfolk's lives are a lie. Israel, anyone? Realizing that this is an important discovery, she desperately tries to get the townsfolk to listen to her, but they meet her with hostility, apathy, disbelief, partisanship, and she fails to get through to them. Julian Assange, anyone? Ultimately, she realizes the town is so far gone that perhaps it's just better to let them be lied to by con artists, and she keeps the secret to herself. And here I've been... Yes, thank you, Homer. And here I've been, like Lisa Simpson, desperately trying to get friends, family, and the public to believe the proof of a totalitarian con I'm trying to show them, and they've turned away with hostility, apathy, disbelief, and partisanship. Very often, people in my life tell me that I need to drink a decaf once in a while. So I feel a lot of this. And so we realize the criminal truth of The Simpsons. Our elites are telling us that our eroding collective circumstances are our own fault, and we can't do anything about it, while they steal the American dream from us. It is, for lack of a more elegant word, brainwashing, or predictive programming is what I like to call it. Lastly, we string these major discoveries together. Cryptocurrency is an economic doomsday device. Our government is a secret kleptocracy. The Simpsons exists to brainwash us. From there, the only research we need is critical thinking, and we're able to piece together the true story of our circumstances. Consider America since 1988. Institutions like healthcare and universities have become parasitic in their skyrocketing prices. News media tells us to be angry and tribalized. Daytime television warns us of moral decay. Local news tells us to fear our neighbors. The Simpsons tells us we're too oafish and divided to save the American dream. Seinfeld tells us to celebrate the assholes and be irritated by all the normal people around us. Reality TV tells us that real life is filled with hedonism and strife, and that everybody can be and is famous. I'm
Not that
adding.
there's anything wrong with that.
Social media, owned by crypto criminals like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, is flooded with nonsense conspiracy theories and memes reminding us that we're hopeless, helpless, anxious, depressed, ironic, scared, apathetic, escapist, lonely, misguided, and jaded, telling us we can't do anything but have a laugh at our circumstances. On top of the fact that I would say that federal voting, add that right in there, like writing a letter to Santa. All right. Liberals mock the hypocrisy of conservatives. Conservatives mock the hypocrisy of liberals, and our collective circumstances erode. Again, red versus blue while they run away with the green. The left shouts all cops are bastards, which ensures they'll be hated by the police in public and flies in the face of leftist theory. Disagree. The public's distrust of the government. Yeah. He says that,
okay.
That, yes, that hating the cops flies in the face of leftist theory. Okay.
That's a little dumb, but okay.
The public's distrust of government is at an all-time high, but so is the belief that we're helpless to do anything about it. And with all this, a sharp rise in apocalyptic messaging. Climate change will kill us all. COVID will kill us all. Vaccines will kill us all. AI will kill us all. No matter the bubbles we ascribe to, we're bombarded with existential crises with no solutions. We've seen a surge in apocalyptic film. God, say that 5 times fast. Don't. Literature.
Pilot of film.
Yep. Literature and video games. I'd have to set that as a Stream Deck button. Then you can do it, right? Cheat. All right. So we've seen a surge in apocalyptic film, literature, and video games that tell us there's no way out of our poor circumstances but societal breakdown. Zombies tell us
that new Fallout TV show?
Zombies tell us that the public is our enemy. If you go to your nearest convenience store, you could buy a can of water called Liquid Death. Okay, but that's... He says this is our rotten farce. He's saying that even as innocuous as something to drink, you're being hit. This is our rotten farce. For our entire lives, we've been flooded with media designed to slowly steer us into a world where the American dream was dead, where the public was fully divided against itself, where everybody believed we were powerless to do anything about our worsening circumstances. You should listen to Jesse Jett, or at least he should have. It's also they can organize an unprecedented apocalyptic rug pull on the entire populace as they pivot to fascism, which is perhaps best understood as kleptocracy at the barrel of a gun. When we piece it all together, we understand the truth. We are in a totalitarian doomsday cult. Why on earth would our elites do this? There are so many reasons, but the simplest is because capitalism is unsustainable and they know it. Climate change and resource extraction would catch up eventually. I was told my entire life that the resources of the earth were finite, that they may not run out in my lifetime, but that eventually they would run out, that the planet would eventually drain itself of oil. There would no longer be discovering deposits of natural gas. We've got to figure our way out of this without drilling. Things escalated wildly in 1988. Things escalated wildly in 1988 when former CIA Director George H.W. Bush got the White House. But this plan had long been in action prior. Why is Stanley Kubrick's comedy about mutually assured destruction called Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb? Because he was a cocky secret fascist who was getting us to stop worrying and love the bomb. Why did he make A Clockwork Orange? So we'd rejoice at ultra-violence designed to desensitize us to the horrors of the world. Why were the Manson family murders crawling with cover-ups and intelligence agents? Because our government wanted to make us fear for our lives and believe that hippies are deranged psychopaths. As still portrayed by Eric Cartman, by the way, in South Park, and it makes me fucking cringe every time they do that. Why did Walt Disney produce a fraudulent documentary that told us that lemmings follow each other off of cliffs so we would believe it? Why did the Beatles tell us to fear the taxman and to scoff at revolution, chase nonsense conspiracy theories, and that happiness is a warm gun? So we would believe it. Why did Easy Rider tell us the hippie movement was dead? So we would believe it. Actually, so we would know it. Why did Chinatown end with defeatism in the face of massive corruption? So we would believe that. Why did George Orwell tell us of a hellish future of totalitarian control that we are powerless to stop, Inksock? So we would believe it. Why did Wall Street tell us greed, for lack of a better word, is good? So we would believe it. Why did Do the Right Thing tell us we're all racially tribalized? And then he made Jungle Fever on top of it. So we would believe it.
Yeah.
Why did Simpsons creator Matt Groening make a comic strip called Life in Hell? So we would believe it. On and on and on and on and on. When it comes to any popular media, if you ask yourself the question, why would secret doomsday cult kleptocrats want the public to consume this? You'll find your answers. He's saying to reverse engineer it. Sadly, and again, we're almost done. I got some things to say. I know you do too. This is obviously very bad news, but the biggest lie we've been told is that we're powerless. As Anna says, we're not powerless. Not at all. We are the many, the psychopaths are the few. Yes. We've got one way out of hell world, and that's for the public to realize that we've been conned completely, so we can build a united movement that shatters every lie they've told us, mocks this rotten farce as loudly as it deserves, and aims at nothing short of abolishing our criminal government so we can build one that serves the public. God, that sounds awfully familiar. To understand this story is to see right through the con, to become immune to the endless sea of criminal propaganda, and to feel the great joy and power that comes with freedom. I also see it almost as being unplugged from the matrix and being able to see that everybody else is plugged in. If a small number of people put on these truth-colored glasses, we're in for an unimaginably bright future. If not, we get an apocalypse. For more information, I put together this booklet that includes major findings and a map to a sea of proof, along with all the other essays on this site. For the true history of America since the end of World War II, see here. And to see this discovery unfold in real time, along with further explanations, hundreds of pieces of evidence not covered here, advice, inspiration, political theory, and the heart and soul of a man escaping history's largest doomsday cult, see his Instagram story highlights. He says, I apologize for leaving things so scattered, but this has been an exhausting affair. So long as you understand this true ideology, you will be able to learn the whole story. He says, here's a federal lawsuit that I filed against dozens of perpetrators of the cryptocurrency Ponzi, not for litigation, but just to preserve the information and attach my name to it. I was terrified and hadn't slept in days, and it shows, but it served its purpose of keeping myself alive long enough to keep learning and telling this story. I no longer have my original research files from the crypto rabbit hole. If you want to see them, you'll have to get my laptop back from the government. Ask them how they got it. It's a very fun story. I hope you know how powerful you are. I wish you a hell of a lot more than luck. And of course, they've turned off commenting for the post too. So,
yeah,
I want to point out a couple of the things, but I'll let you have something to say here because you've got some things to say about this, some feelings.
My bullshit detector goes off with this story. I don't know why. You know, a couple of reasons I think we've both kind of tried to look at, you know.
Well,
I mean, this dude was what? Connected to the Democrats at least twice for a 4-month period each time. And who was he working for?
Well, as it turns out, he had worked for a couple of campaigns for Democratic seats. Now, he was mostly a solutions engineer or a tech guy for quite a while, but back in 2014, he ran as the operations director for 4 months as Bera for Congress, where he mostly organized public events for donors and volunteers. Interesting. Right?
Yeah.
As well as the operations director.
That's his.
Yes?
You have his LinkedIn up, right?
Yes.
Is that what you're pulling?
Yes.
Go to the top of that.
Yes. You want to see, you want to show who his profile picture is with.
Profile picture is?
You know that guy? Anybody know that guy?
Yeah, old. I did not help this crypto gentleman.
So that's a little weird. This site rules so hard.
I mean, especially if he's going to talk shit about him in the article we read a minute ago, where he's like filing stuff against them, you know?
So,
but still has that guy in his profile picture?
It's weird. On top of the fact, and you pointed this out as well. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that like, we've heard a lot of this from people we know, right? Who were probably the only people talking about a lot of the crypto problems and stuff like that.
It's blockchain. It's
They're at Unlimited Hangout. No mention of them. No mention of them.
Grayzone.
Like, no mention of anything other than, like, the two sources in this were what? Wikipedia
and the Washington Post. That's what he had linked to.
And the WAPO.
Which was also a little question, a little concerning. Which was, of all the things that he linked to, and notice he didn't link to very much in this article, here's the 88 DNC speech.
Right.
Here's a WAPO article about the Rob Lowe operation. A WAPO article about Kitty Dukakis.
Yeah.
A Wikipedia description of what kayfabe is. Of all sites. Now, wait a minute. You know that there's a global cabal going on, and you're linking and referencing to Wikipedia, which you know is controlled by the intelligence community? Okay, that's weird.
I get using it occasionally for something, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's just like, there's that.
Even the descriptions of the Simpsons episodes
where he did it
are Wikipedia references,
where he
not
did
IMDb or not the Simpsons or anywhere else. Wikipedia. Weird.
Yeah.
Okay. The lack of mentioning any of his sources and where he gets any of this information from. Now, he claims that he's documented it in other posts on this Substack. But again, more crawling Manson family murders from Wikipedia? Intelligence agents? Yes.
Well, there's a weird thing about the cops in here, too, that I didn't notice that till today.
Right? That leftists should get along with cops? Yeah, not in my experience. Right?
Yeah.
But every link here is to either Wikipedia or Washington Post until he gets to his booklet, which is the other major findings and a map to a sea of proof. And I did not go through all of this, to be honest with you. I didn't. And I need to. I would like to, but that's for another time.
But yeah, something plus
stinks
the government
here.
already had this guy's laptop. Yeah, something stinks. I don't know what it is yet. There's a couple of things, but
right, but here he's saying 9 months ago, the odds of a random person on Earth becoming a billionaire is about 1 in 3 million. The odds of a Stanford University becoming a billionaire is about 1 in 2,000. Want to know why? Learn the basics of Ponzi schemes. Understand why fanatical futurist technology makes for good ones. Think Theranos, which was founded at Stanford. Go to startx.com/company.
This whole Ponzi scheme thing, while not entirely wrong, it seems a little vague and not accurate. Like, yeah, some of this is Ponzi-esque, but not everything. Sometimes it's just capitalism, that is causing these problems.
The supervillains are about to collapse the economy. Thank the crypto super Ponzi for that one. Lucky for us, that's as real as cryptocurrency. We just had to realize it. And I believe he's talking probably about the failure of SVB, of FTX. In this case.
Yeah.
So, wow. Again, he's got He goes deep in this Ponzi Papers.substack.com. Another reason why the government might want to be coming after platforms like this, which is where people can publish things like this. And this was published in October of last year about Peter Thiel. And we've looked into Peter Thiel before. PayPal Mafia. Met with Epstein in 2014. Huge proponent of crypto. I did not know that he was gay, but his romantic partner, Jeff Thomas, fell to his death shortly after the SVB bank run. Did we know that?
Sure.
All right. What is crypto?
I think you might have mentioned it. But...
Big Ponzi players and who are involved with that. All right. There's the speech. Everything he talked about was really here. All right. A false flag attack gets blamed on our enemies, likely Russia or China. Since many Silicon Valley companies will collapse, it might include a power grid attack or an internet outage. Like we said, power goes out. What happens to your crypto?
Mm-hmm.
QAnon, Pizzagate are examples of this nonsense to hide the fact that main characters are financial criminals. All right, there's talking about Stanford, NYU, UNC, all the different places where intelligence. I'm surprised he didn't list University of Miami there too. Follow billionaires and bullshit science for more. Yale as well. There's a lot of parts to this. I'll bet you Rice University, which is the Harvard of the Midwest, is also involved.
Well, Note talks about Israel. Doesn't mention Bushnell.
Right. Right. This guy just self-immolated. He didn't even mention a guy who self-immolated weeks ago.
The press involved around it. You know. And not just didn't mention that guy, didn't mention any of the times anyone has ever chosen to do that before.
Or why he chose that as his form of expression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious to hear what other people have to say about that. I know that there are people who are horrified by it. I read somebody in there said
too
that
paranoid or
that Do Dissidents had dismissed it as kind of kooky. Isn't Matt Groening a Freemason? Sure. That's a good question, gamer.
Possibly.
They said that he was a kook. I saw someone said that somewhere. I thought my tin hat was expansive. Tell me what he said that was really outrageous. He talked about the Great Reset. He didn't really talk. Now that's the other thing. He didn't mention any of the organizations other than the people.
He talked around a lot of it, right?
He didn't talk about the World Economic Forum. He didn't talk about the Council on Foreign Relations. He didn't talk about the Bilderberg Group.
Yeah.
All right. He only talked about some people, but it's really interesting. There it is. His sources. Yes, Cookies. Who are his sources? All right. This is a conversation for a better Catholic like Choosy. Okay, I guess. I don't know what that conversation was, but only if you want to hear about the Knights Templar, if you can talk about Choosy. I shout out and love, but no thanks. I'm all good with that. The no Cardassian revolutions. Every color revolution is, by the way, led by the fucking CIA. No color revolutions. Color revolutions are a bad thing, not a good thing. Color revolutions, Cardassian revolution, bad thing. Sorry, bad thing. Put it in every chat for the last 4 years. Or is that the CIA? I don't know. I don't know. But start to ask the question. Rice would be the Harvard of the South. That is correct. Hey, what's up, Marcus? Marcus Cage in here in the house, everybody. Shout out to Marcus. All right, so we're gonna go to boats. Shit. Now it's gonna be a few minutes. Damn, that took way I had 2 stories done by 10:15, and the last 2 stories took an hour 45. Yes. Love it, love it, love it. All right. So we're going to switch this stream, but you will be switched automatically by YouTube because somehow miraculously it held for the full 2 hours. Knights of Malta. That's right. That's right. Earl, you got it. The Crocs of Malta. Okay. I love them. You know, look, man, we've been in chats and we've been doing this a long time. Remember, we came from being in these chats on all these channels, just like you guys were, which is also to say, hopefully we inspire. Look, Mastermind Hour. Shout out to Mastermind Hour, who does a show now on RBN Long Beach. He did one earlier tonight. Like, we can all do. Everybody's been sitting in chats long enough to know this shit. We all know this shit, guys and girls, ladies, animaires. You too. Yes. Click the bell. Click the bell. Ring the bell. Okay. Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. Ko-fi.com. That's for the Jesse Jett Fund. Thank you so much if you were able to do that. Also, Patreon, Substack, Rumble, Cash App. You see it there. We love you all for doing it. I want to give a big, mega INN shout out to Kit Cabello and Hardlands Media. 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. Man.
Yep.
I remember when they got taken down in January or in December, it was on Christmas Eve. Their channel got taken down. They were at 44,000 subs, and they were told that, you know, they basically were going to lose their channel. And Kit said at that point, if we get to 50, I'll wear a kilt. Well, he got to 50, so we are expecting tomorrow morning to see Kit Cabello in a kilt. And I will be quite disappointed if I don't see
and salutations.
If I don't see Kilt Check in the morning. I'm going to be really disappointed. I'm going to give him a hard time. All right. So, anything else you got before I hit the button and we go over to boats and switch? I take a bong hit in between because I don't stop talking. I know.
Yeah.
All right. Love you all.
Yep.
Support independent media. We need it more than ever. Stay tuned. You'll get switched over to boats. If not, go to the INN channel on wherever you're watching, and we will flip over to boats. There's another stream ready for it. I just have to switch the keys and the chats and everything else. Night, fam. Love you. Bye, everyone.
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the